Hi, good morning, students. It's nice to be here. It's always nice to be here to work with the mentors. It's always nice to see these young, fresh faces at the beginning of the year. I hope you still smile this brightly at the end of the year after spending a year as a mentor. Nadia, thanks for the introduction. I don't think I agree with everything you said, but I'll try my best. My topic for today is time management. Now you'll see the title is slightly different. It's not just time management, it's meaning-centered time management. Now when we talk about something being meaning-centered, we refer to people having purpose in their lives, people having goals in their lives, something that pulls them forward. And I think we can link time to meaning as well. Now, my own perspective is that time is precious beyond measure. Time essentially equals our lives. If we start wasting time, we are wasting our lives as well. Now, this knowledge is nothing new. It's been communicated to us throughout the ages, throughout the centuries. People have told us how important time is. But what we know in modern time is that wisdom has become cheap. We see wisdom everywhere. We see it on bumper stickers, we see it in emails, on Twitters, SMSs, etc. It's everywhere. So essentially we are being flooded by knowledge. We are being flooded by knowledge that took people in ancient times, years or lifetimes to understand and comprehend and put across in the printed word, and we receive that instantaneously. Now, the challenge we face is to try to make the most of this ancient knowledge, to recycle it, to savor it for more than it is actually worth. Now, one way we can do this is to investigate and look at quotes, because quotes essentially will communicate wonderful and truthful knowledge to us. So, the approach in today's presentation is to focus on 3 sets of quotes. And hopefully by means of those 3 sets of quotes, I can communicate to you what time management is, why it is important, and generate some ideas on how you can communicate this to your mentees throughout the year. Now, the first set of quotes will talk about the finitude of time. Now, we all know that as humans we only have a limited amount of time on earth. It's also been said that we have occupied as much as 1% of the earth's existence. So imagine your arm is the earth's existence. We as the human race have only been here for your fingertip. That is how long we have been here on earth. So time is finite. We have a limited supply of time. The second set of quotes will focus on the importance of having a purpose in life. Now, Friedrich Nietzsche used to say, "He who has a why can bear with almost any how." What that means is the person who has a purpose, who has meaning in life, can cope and overcome any set of circumstances. Why? Because there's something meaningful in the future pulling them through the difficult times. And then the third set of quotes focuses on this thing that I call freedom of will. In other words, humans have the capacity to make choices in any life circumstance. Even when we don't make a choice, that is a choice as well. Now, Viktor Frankl, who was a Nazi concentration camp prisoner, said everything can be taken from a man but one thing, and he called this the last of the human freedoms. He said that is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances and to choose one's own way. Right, so let's get started with this first set of quotes. This is about the finitude of time. And what I want to do is I want to start with a video clip. Okay, so that video clip, of course, from the movie Dead Poets Society. And when we look at that video clip, there are 3 striking quotes that he refers to, right? The first one is, "Gather your rosebuds while you may. Old time is still a-flying." And the same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying. So what is he saying there? He's saying if you want to pick roses, you better pick them today because tomorrow they will be dying. He's urging us not to waste time, right? And then John Keating, the teacher in this video clip, says, because we are food for worms, lads. Now that's a bit striking, right? And then lastly, he finishes off with Carpe Diem. Seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary. And once again, he urges these youngsters to make the most of their lives, not to waste time. Because as I said earlier, when we start wasting time, we waste our lives, right? So let me hear from you. What is the message communicated in this video clip for you personally? Anyone? Yes, sir.
I think the message that is conveyed to me personally is that do not procrastinate. Do not procrastinate. Do things today. Don't wait until, and don't push things and keep on saying, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it when I get time. Do everything while you still can. Do everything while you still have breath within you. And while you can still go to any depth to do things. So do it now, because you may not know what's going to happen tomorrow. You might wake up tomorrow and you won't be able to even walk. You might wake up tomorrow and you'll be dead. So while you still can, while you're still able, do it.
Right, so every moment in life gives us an opportunity, right? An opportunity to achieve something. That's an excellent answer. Is there anybody who'd like to add something else? Yes, ma'am? Yes, we can all make a difference. And that's what meaning is about. That's why purpose for living is about. It's about making a difference. Good answer. Now, Philip Zimbardo, a famous psychologist, tells us that our time on earth is limited. And he says, in the mere blink of a cosmic eye, we will join the billions of ancestors of ours who have lived, died, and have now become indistinguishable from the piles of bones in front of us. Right. So every year we have mentors sitting here who want to make a difference. You see, when we talk about time management, it's not just about controlling or managing time. It's about how you manage yourself as well. It's about how you manage yourself in terms of the amount of time that you have available. So time is important. It structures our lives. And unlike most possessions that can be insured, we can never insure our time. Once our time runs out, it's gone forever. Right. So the first thing that you need to understand about time management is that it's a scarce and valuable commodity. So when you work with your mentees, that is the message you need to communicate to them. That time is important. Time isn't just about setting a timetable. It's about making that decision to make the most out of the opportunities given to you. And you need to develop that mindset of viewing time as valuable. Right, let's move over to our next quote. And this is about purpose in life. Now, Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, speaks about beginning with the end in mind. What do you think he refers to when he says begin with the end in mind? Yes, sir? Okay, you must have a goal for the end of your life. You must have something to strive for. Good, yes. Nice. Anybody else? See, the mentors are a lot less talkative this year than last year. Yes, ma'am?
Make sure that what you started you finish it.
Make sure that what you started, you finish it. Yes, so commitment, discipline, diligence, all right. What he also refers to is this. He says that is the end that we all face. Now, if you have a look at that tombstone, what do we see printed on that tombstone? We see in loving memory, right? So that is the legacy that this person is leaving, in loving memory. And when he says begin with the end in mind, he says that is where we need to begin. We need to begin with that goal that we are striving for. Whether we want to or not, we will all leave a legacy in this world. And we need to be disciplined and diligent enough to work towards that final goal. So a nice idea to do with your mentees is to do a bit of backward planning. To have them begin by imagining their tombstone. Asking them, imagine it's 200 years from now. And I always get the same look from students when I say that. But imagine it's 200 years from now. And you are looking at your own tombstone. What would you like to have written on there? And then start from there and plan backwards. And what does it mean for you today? What would you have to start doing today? Now, Frankl says this idea of death is not meant to scare us. It's meant to fuel our purpose for meaningful living. It needs to make us aware that when we are alive, to live right. And in this regard, Lewis Carroll, who wrote Alice in Wonderland, says, if you don't know where you are going, any road will take you there. If you don't know where your life is going, anything can be written on your tombstone, right? So there's no commitment. There's no responsibility. What Carroll also refers to is goals. And goals are supposed to reflect the purpose of our lives. Now, the second important thing related to time management is appropriate goals. Excuse me. Because time management is about investing energy to pursue and realize the meaningful goals in our lives. We can define a goal as a dream with legs. We all have dreams for the future, right? You might say, I want my BTech degree, so that's a dream. But goals help us turn those dreams into reality. How we do this is through outcome goals, in other words, stating what we want, and then breaking that up into meaningful little steps. If your goal is to achieve your BTech degree in 4 years' time, you need to ask yourself, what actions do I need to take today to achieve that in 4 years' time? So you have your outcome goal, what you want, and then your process goals. The small little steps that you need to take every day. And when you think about it, time management is nothing more than those small little steps you need to take every day to achieve your goal. So, the second aspect, first of all, set an outcome goal, a life goal, and then break it up into smaller chunks. The moment we break something big into smaller chunks, it becomes more manageable, right? And you can ask Ms. Barnard as well, with writing her thesis, it's a big thing, but if you break it up to in half a chapter, it becomes manageable. Okay. Right. The third set of quotes is centered around the freedom to make our own choices in life. Now, the philosopher Albert Camus said, in the depth of the coldest winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. Now, what does that beautiful quote mean? It means humans have the unique capacity to make decisions, to make choices, regardless of life circumstances. And the reason we can do it is because we are the only species who can reflect or think about our own thinking, right? Let's imagine we had an animal in here, a dog in here right now, and a bone or a piece of meat fell from the sky. What would that dog do with that piece of meat or bone? Say again? Eat it, right. Indiscriminately start eating it. Ma'am, what would you do if a piece of bone or meat fell from the sky? Yes, you won't just start eating it, right? Why not? Because as human beings, we can think, we can reflect on what happens in life. We are not bound by our instincts, and we should not be bound by our social circumstances. We should not fall prey to what everybody else says we must do. We've got the capacity to make our own choices, and we call that the freedom of our will. So it's not a freedom from circumstances, it's a freedom towards choosing how we react. Now, if we can acknowledge that this is true, sir, why do you think we procrastinate?
think in some cases we procrastinate because we're scared of some
Fear of failure, yes. That's one of the reasons of procrastinating, yes. What is procrastination? Deliberately delaying something that we know needs to be done. For instance, you know you have to write a test in a week's time, right? Let's say it's Friday afternoon, next week Friday you're writing a test. You know you must study, right? But your best friend is having his or her birthday party. What do you do that Friday evening? Do you study or go to the birthday party? There's some people saying study. I think they're lying. Okay, I want to show you a video clip about procrastination. Right, so let me ask you, how many of you would have waited for that second marshmallow? How many of you would not have waited? Yes, I think there's a few more honest hands, right. So what is this video all about? It's about self-discipline, right. We live in a world that is so focused on instant gratification. If we want to talk to somebody in Cape Town, we can immediately phone them, right? We can SMS them. We can see them through Skype. So there's instant communication. A couple of generations ago, you would have had to send them a letter. You would have had to go and visit them. So you see, it was that culture that the doctor spoke about of waiting. And he also speaks about how can parents help their children. Now, the challenge here is it's all up to you. It's not up to your parents helping you anymore while you're at university. You are the person who will stretch the limits, but you're also the person who is responsible for setting the limits. Now, to understand procrastination, you need to know that human beings have two minds. One brain, but two minds. The first mind is called the emotional mind. It's based on the pursuit of pleasure. We do things because it creates pleasure. It's like eating that marshmallow immediately. Why? It tastes nice, right? The emotional mind also provides us with energy. If we experience emotions, we have more energy. Now, the second mind is called the cognitive or the thinking mind. Now, the thinking mind makes us feel guilty. It's like that example I used, that Friday evening you're not studying and you begin to feel guilty because you're not doing it, right? That's your thinking mind telling you you are supposed to study. But your thinking mind does not provide you with energy. It makes you feel guilty, but it's difficult to translate that guilt into action, right? So what we need to learn as human beings is to integrate, to manage these two minds of ours. What we can do in that situation is ask ourselves, what do I feel like doing? I feel like eating this marshmallow immediately because it'll taste nice. All right. What must I do? I must wait for a second marshmallow, right? So that's the dual nature of the challenge. But then we can choose what to do. Remember we said we as humans are the only species who can choose and make decisions. So we can tell ourselves, what I choose to do is this. It's not easy, but that is the easiest route to success at university, is choosing what you do and following through on your word. So the third step is make the emotional intelligent choice. Learn to delay instant gratification, and then the rewards will be even so much sweeter. Then instead of one marshmallow, there's two marshmallows waiting for you. So, the first aspect related to time management, we said, is to develop a mindset that views time as an important resource. The second aspect is to set meaningful goals. Goals that will stretch us. And the third aspect is to make the emotionally intelligent choice. Now, we need to translate this into something that we can share with our mentees, a specific action plan. It's good to explain that to them, so that cognitively they get the insight and develop the awareness, but we need something practical as well. And I want to show you an example of something that I use with a lot of students, and I call it a daily time management praxis. So praxis is about action, right? It's about taking action based on the theory that we know. The first step, and students do this on a weekly basis, I tell them do this every Sunday evening, is to write down their goals. What are your specific goals while at university? What is it you want to achieve at the end of the year? What do you want to achieve in 10 years' time? To actually write that down. Next, to consider their roles in life. You see, all of you are more than just students. You are more than just student mentors. You are also brothers and sisters. You are sons and daughters. You are friends to people. You might be involved in a specific social club. So there's lots of responsibilities, right? So we want to identify our roles so that we can try to live a balanced life, that we can invest enough energy into all areas of our lives that we feel fulfilled. Then the next step would be to brain dump everything they need to do the next week. What I typically tell them is write down 7 things you need to do this week to move closer to your goal. 7 of the most important things. And then everything else as well. Everything you can think of that you must do this coming week, write that down. So now they have their goals, their roles, and what they need to do. Now, focusing on what they need to do in this coming week, it's now time to prioritize. In other words, identify what the most important actions will be this week. If your goal is to achieve your BTech degree, what is the most important thing I can do this week? It might be to attend all my classes. It might be to start working on my first assignment. It might be to start studying for that test that I'm writing at the end of the month. Right. So identify the most important things so that they don't become urgent. Because you see, urgent things like crises press on us. We do things that are not aligned with our goals. Now, we take all of this and we combine it into a life plan. Some people refer to this as a timetable. I think it's better to refer to this as a life plan because it's not just about managing time, it's about managing yourself, right? You note down your roles, your goals, and your weekly priorities. Then you use a pencil and you schedule times to dedicate to those important activities. Now I say use a pencil because remember, unexpected things do happen in life. And we might need to erase certain activities. We might have to replan. So that is what the stop part is for. Your daily priorities. On a daily basis, ask yourself, can I still attend to all of this today? Did I forget about something? So you see, it becomes a living document. It becomes part of your life. And then the last step is to actually live this plan. To follow through on what you said you want to do. Now, I can normalize this for you, and you need to normalize this for your mentees as well, that you will mess up somewhere along the line. We all do it. But the challenge is to get back on track as soon as you can. So the next week, the next Sunday evening, sit back and reflect on your plan. What worked for you and should you do more of? What didn't work and should you change? And what did you leave out or miss and should you start doing? And then use that information to replan. And you see, in that way, you are creating a cycle of continuous and never-ending improvement. You keep on learning from what you are doing. You have the awareness, you have the understanding, but now you also have a practical plan. And if you're looking for a practical plan like this, I would recommend you go to the library and find Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. His second habit is called First Things First, and he explains this beautifully in there. I hope that makes sense to all of you. If it doesn't, let's just have a look at the reasoning behind this. You see, most students experience something like this on the board, right? Imagine that jar is your week. And in a week, we have 160 hours of time. Every week to do everything we need to do. But a lot of students tell me it feels like they have 700 hours worth of stuff to do every week. Right. Now, imagine this section over here, this 700 hours of things to do consists of big rocks, small rocks, sand, and water. Right, those 4 things. What would I have to put into this jar first to get the most into that jar? The most of this into that jar. Somebody said water? Sand? Anybody else? Excellent, the big rocks. We must start with the big rocks. We fill that jar with big rocks. We follow that up with smaller rocks. Then the sand, and lastly, the water. What will happen if we fill the jar with water first? So I fill it with water and then I push a big rock in there. What will happen? It will spill over. And it's the same with your life. If you fill your life with the less important things first, it will spill over. It will result in unnecessary stress. So the lesson that we can learn from this is identify the big rocks first. The big rocks relate to your goal and they relate to your life purpose. Schedule them first. They are the priorities, the important stuff. And then surround the important stuff with all the other nice stuff. Right. So if we put this all together, we can suggest to our mentees that they plan once a week. There's more time in a week than in a day. So there's more time to address all your roles in a week than in a day. In a day we have 24 hours, in a week 168 hours. And we can dedicate specific days to specific activities. So the steps. First of all, write down your goal. Goals are like the compass in life. They point us to true north. They help us understand how to find our way through the forest. This forest of university stress, right? The second step is to write down your roles because we want to create balance. We want to be good at everything we do, right? We don't just want to excel in one area because that will leave us feeling frustrated. Then, brain dump all the things you need to do this week. Try to think of everything, write it down. Even if it's not important, just get that out of your mind onto paper. Once you have it on paper, prioritize. And remember the golden rule, first things first. Focus on the big rocks first. And in that way, you integrate the compass and the clock. You integrate your goals with your time management plan. The fourth task is to schedule. Put it down on paper. Commit yourself to specific actions every day. You might not always follow through on those plans, but that's okay because you can learn from that. Adapt on a daily basis. Like we said, sometimes unexpected things happen. We fall ill, we have an unexpected test that we need to study for. So be prepared to be flexible as well. So you see, it's a fine balance between being organized and being flexible at the same time. And lastly, live your plan. Do what you said you wanted to do. Remember, failure is making those small decisions every day not to follow through on your commitments. That is what failure is. Right, I see a couple of people still writing down, so I'll leave this up for you. But then I want to ask you, are there any questions or comments? I think we have about 5 minutes for questions and comments. So either I explained this extremely well and you understand everything, or you've got no idea what I just talked about. Okay. If you do need to contact me, you can get my details from Ms. Barnard. I'll show you my email address as well in a second. Just quickly show you my email address if you need to contact me. If you have questions about time management specifically, there you have it. masonh@tut.ac.za, or you can phone me on 012-382-3521, and I'm in building 6, room 352. Or you can get all my information from Ms. Barnard.